Based on what you've shared about Knowles' theory of andragogy, do you feel like his theory is a bit culture blind without regard to different races and cultures that may value teachers as primary sources of knowledge and direction?
Yes, and I think it's really important that when you're reading Knowles' theory to understand and acknowledge the historical and experiential context that Knowles comes from. You know, his initial theory was from the early 1970s, and his experience was very much that classical university classroom and the types of students that would have, predominantly been present in those classrooms. Today classrooms, especially university classrooms, are much more diverse in color, culture, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status and background, and even more so what is considered the non-traditional student. More and more full-fledged and mature adults are coming back to school for various reasons. Student experience and orientation of learning looks different in adult education as a whole. And not all adult learners are in or fit into a university classroom setting. There are all kinds of adult learners. And Knowles' theory, unfortunately, does not acknowledge that. And unfortunately, there's no learning theory that covers every kind of learner. So I think it's important to acknowledge that Knowles' theory is not without holes and exceptions.
So based on these acknowledgments, what do you think are the most important characteristics of adult learners for teachers at all levels of adult education to consider and recognize?
Well, I think sometimes, with adult learners, and this is with or without disabilities, adult learners often have some limitations in their learning, whether that's from lack of access in their past or, even failure in school. If they do have a disability or an undocumented disability, accommodations are still going to be necessary and should be considered when designing the learning environment. Learning styles always need to be considered. Scaffolding is appropriate to build self-reliance until something that was, before not doable is. Every student has a past learning history. They need support to be successful in the new learner-centered context. And they need the teachers to be facilitators and coaches and to consider their prior experience to build new experiences. I think it's also important that they feel like their learning focuses on issues that concern them. Adults need less formal learning environments, but within those informal environments, we need to work on growing trust and respect and collaboration. Adults need time for reflection and avenues to transform their ideas and selves through the process. And finally, adults need dialogue and social interaction about what they're doing, their thinking, and what they're planning to do. Collaboration of thought is so important to the changing adult.